The new generation Reploids have been awakened, and the new world is at hand.
Ever since it first debuted in 1987, Mega Man managed to create a special space for itself in the sci-fi fantasy genre. While this video game soon transformed into a full-fledged franchise, the creators started branching out to the mainstream storylines and into spin-offs and expanded universes full of interesting new characters. While Dr. Weil was initially introduced as the main antagonist, other characters, such as Sigma and Lumine, also stirred up a whole lot of trouble for our titular robot, and today we'll explore the top 10 strongest enemies in the Mega Man franchise.
Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin.
You can't do it, can you, X?
Sigma, Mega Man X series. To kick off the list, we have Sigma, the main antagonist of the Mega Man X series. While he was once known as the commander of the Maverick Hunters, he soon descended into insanity and convinced himself that he was Maverick himself. He then led all crooked Reploids to destroy humanity, but he was often unsuccessful in these missions. However, Sigma never gave up on his agenda, no matter how many times that he had to be reprogrammed or destroyed. He always found new ways to wreak havoc all over the world. Sigma has taken many different forms across the series, but he always has a characteristic bald head with a gem engraved in his forehead. He also has a scar over each eye, and he wears green or purple clothing over a bulky human frame. Sigma started off as the honourable leader of the Maverick Hunters, and his intelligence and nobility made him quite a charismatic and well-respected personality. Unfortunately, he was infected with the Maverick virus, which amplified his flaws and led him to lose all moral inhibitions. He then turned extremely pro-Reploid and started holding a grudge against humanity, believing humans to be the reason behind Reploid's struggle with development and evolution. As the Sigma virus made its way through his brain, Sigma eventually started neglecting his body and even started self-destructing himself in battle, as his regenerative powers would bring him back every single time. Over time, the constant destruction and regeneration had irreversible effects on his sanity, and this proud warrior was eventually reduced to a shell of his former self. Dr. Weil, Mega Man Zero series. Also known as Dr. Weil, Dr. Weil appears in the form of an intellectual but cruel scientist who hopes to conquer humans and Reploids alike. He operates from within the shadows until Mega Man 03, where his schemes finally give way to the Elf Wars when he transforms the Mother Elf into the Dark Elf. He appears in the form of an old man with wrinkled skin and long white hair, as well as a long white beard and bloodshot eyes. He typically wore a cyborg suit of armor fitted with a breastplate, a high collar, and a conical orange helmet that was made of glass. After the attack on Neo Arcadia, Dr. Weil's helmet shattered and revealed his injured face, but he soon healed these wounds by merging his body with the Ragnarok core. Weil was known for working in secrecy and manipulating others into bringing his schemes to life, and he did an excellent job of hiding his true psychotic nature behind a calm and collected mask. While he appeared as an intellectual leader, he was utterly obsessed with controlling everyone around him, and he orchestrated all kinds of battles to retain control over the Reploids with the Dark Elf. He even attacked Area Zero in an attempt to bring humanity under his power, and he also admitted that he took great pleasure in causing the Elf Wars. Omega, Mega Man 03. Voiced by Junichi Suwabe, Omega was a major antagonist in Mega Man 03, as well as a secondary villain in Mega Man ZX. Even though he appears in but a few scenes, Omega ties the entire Mega Man lore and sets the tone for the events that precede the Elf Wars. Also known as the Evil Reploid, Omega was a gigantic Reploid creature created by Dr. Weil in the hopes that he would become the perfect ruler of the species. His body was similar to that of an armoured knight, and he wore a long overcoat and had pink hair flowing from the top of his helmet to his feet. Weil was hopeful that Omega would mass control the Reploids remotely and ensure that they didn't turn into Mavericks, and he created created them by using Zero's old body with a new personality chip. While Omega was essentially one of Weil's footworkers, he eventually declared himself as the Messiah by the end of the game. He could mind control the Reploids and even empower other entities through the Dark Elf. In addition to this, Omega could manipulate energy and heal from injuries in no time whatsoever. He was also a skilled marksman and swordsman to boot. Over the course of his story arc, Omega confronted the X-Guardians and Zero, absorbed the Dark Elf, and even committed mass genocide to destroy human settlements. While he was initially loyal to Dr. Weil, he eventually developed a god complex and brought about a hell of a lot of death and destruction on his own merit, and he was even proud of the massacres he had caused during the Elf Wars.
The new generation Reploids have been awakened, and the new world is at hand.
Lumine, Mega Man X8. Appearing in Mega Man X8, Lumine was a new generation Reploid who oversaw the Jacob project. While Lumine was abducted in his first appearance, we would eventually learn that he was the secret antagonist of the show, despite maintaining a benevolent facade for most of the game. He appears in the form of a young Reploid with lavender hair, gold eyes, white and purple armor, and a blue jewel fitted onto his chest. He appears as a cheerful and talkative young man who often confesses his confidence in the new generation's Reploid abilities. Over time, his detached and cool persona turns into a cruel, wicked tone, accompanied by maniacal laughter as he reveals his true nature to the Maverick Hunters, and he even makes fun of X, Zero, and Axel. Even when X defeats him, Lumine has a satisfied smile on his face as he declared that the world would follow his teachings, even in the event of his death. Copy X, Mega Man 0, 1, and 3. Also known as Master X, Copy X was the main antagonist of Mega Man 0 Season 1, and he was later revived for the show's third season too. Created in the aftermath of the Elf Wars, Copy X was essentially a cyber-elf form of X, the ruler of Neo Arcadia. After X sacrificed his body to seal the Dark Elf in Yggdrasil, a scientist named Ciel stepped up to replicate him and create Copy X to fill his boots. However, Ciel did not realize that Copy X was far from benevolent, and even his council, including the 8 gentle judges, picked up on his ruthless nature and harsh judgments towards the Mavericks. After Neo Arcadia underwent an energy crisis, Copy X even blamed the entire situation on Reploids and passed a law to execute them mercilessly. This led to a lot of tension in Neo Arcadia, and a resistance group even ended up awakening the original X to deal with him. After Copy X was eventually subdued, he disappeared for one season before finally making a comeback in the show's third season, where Dr. Weil stepped up to task to revive him. Copy X completely resembled X's blue armor and helmet, and he could assume several forms, including an ultimate form where his armor turned white and gold. He could also assume a second form, where he underwent a seraph-like transformation that enabled him to levitate around and destroy the sides of the floor with spiked pillars. Base, Forte, Mega Man and Base, Mega Man Classic Series. Created by Dr. Wily to imitate Mega Man, Base, or Forte, was a major antagonist in series such as Mega Man 7 and Mega Man and Base. He's essentially an anti-hero with the goal of becoming the most powerful robot in history, and he was designed to be the polar opposite of the titular protagonist. He had black armor with gold lining, a triangular blue crystal fitted onto his chest, red eyes, and a giant yellow helmet. He was known for his rebellious attitude and bad temper, and he was quite an arrogant character who viewed other robots as inferior or junk robots. While Base and Mega Man were rivals, they did team up on a couple of occasions to take down mutual enemies and even protect humanity. While most robots were known for their distaste towards humanity, Base held a great respect for humans as they had created robots in the first place, and he also cared for others around him. In this sense, he had a good heart and some sense of justice, even though he has been depicted as an antagonist for the most part. Shadow Devil, Mega Man X5 and X6. Introduced as a devil-inspired robot, Shadow Devil made its first appearance as the boss of Zero Space Stage 1. It had a black body with a warped Wily logo on its forehead, which connected his original creator with Zero. In Mega Man X5, Shadow Devil was one of the most difficult opponents due to its unpredictable nature and its durable attacks. It was capable of splitting its body into blocky blobs that could fly across the room and cause heavy damage, and it was nearly impossible to dodge these attacks. Facing the Shadow Devil turned into a tiresome task in no time. But one could defeat it by targeting its eye. It could also be defeated with the help of the Tri-Thunder or E-Blade, but it later made an appearance in the Archie comics after Sigma 1 rebuilt it alongside some of the other mechanoids. Elpizo, Mega Man 02, also known as Elpis. Elpizo was a supporting character in the main franchise, but he soon showed up as the main antagonist in Mega Man 02. He was known for taking control of the Resistance while Ciel operated the Ciel system, and he especially attracted attention when he changed his approach to a more violent one. In no time, Elpizo embraced a life of insanity, and his megalomania got the better of him as he believed that he was more important than everyone around him. He was also convinced that nobody around him understood him, and he developed an arrogant personality. He also attacked Neo Arcadia, but his invasion force was killed in the attack, and he had to finally admit defeat. Elpizo started feeling a bit inadequate and decided to find the Dark Elf to boost his powers. After absorbing the Dark Elf's powers, Elpizo's regal appearance underwent a drastic change, and he no longer wore a high-collared fuchsia coat, white gloves and a helmet. Instead, his fingers transformed into claws, and he also had a skeletal white armor with jagged shoulder cuffs. His face had also turned pale, and he had red eyes, spindly arms, and bat-like wings. Despite all his flaws, Elpizo's militaristic attitude helped him rise to great heights and rebel against Neo Arcadia, and he was quite unfortunate to eventually descend into insanity. Master Albert, Mega Man ZX Advent. Introduced as a part of the Sage Trinity, Master Albert could assume several appearances over the course of the game, but he initially appeared to be a tall man with blue hair and white robes. When he was affiliated with the Sage Trinity, he kept his eyes closed and only opened them when he was ready to reveal his true nature. In his true form, he was much shorter and he had bright pink hair and red eyes with black sclerae. He also wore a monocle-like device over his right eye and had a dark body with red lines that would glow in the dark. After Mega merging with Model W, Master Albert had a golden suit of armor along with a semi-transparent helmet and glowing yellow eyes. While he initially came across as a calm, mature character, he eventually revealed his megalomaniac nature as he cared for nobody but himself. He was often indifferent towards his own colleagues, and he was determined to create a world where humanoids and reploids reached their full evolution potential. However, he soon decided that humans, as well as reploids, were incredibly flawed, and that he must step up to eradicate all misery and evolutionary stagnation in order to create the perfect world. He waited in secrecy to use the biometal Model W to reset the world and declare himself as their new god. And he also ruled over Prometheus and Pandora during his evil reign in Mega Man ZX Advent. Yellow Devil, Mega Man 1, also known as Rock Monster. Yellow Devil was Dr. Wily's first combat robot creation, and it made its first appearance as a fortress boss in Mega Man 1. Its body was created out of yellow goo that took the form of shaped memory parts that would dismantle, flying across the place in order to attack its enemies. It was very difficult to defeat the Yellow Devil, as it was capable of splitting into 19 parts that would come flying towards the players, knocking them out. Whenever it reassembled its body, the Yellow Devil would open its red eyes and fire shots at the player in the blink of an eye. While it can be defeated with the help of the Thunder Beam, players need to aim at least 7 hits at the eyes to kill it. Over time, the Yellow Devil appeared in the Mega Man Powered Up remake, where it repeatedly said "Boomo" in an attempt to create its own language. Marvelous verdict. And with that, we have explored some of the most heinous characters in the Mega Man universe, ranging from Sigma from the Mega Man X series to Lumine and Omega. While all these characters brought about some level of chaos and destruction from Mega Man, they were quite diverse and individualistic in terms of their modus operandi. We hope you enjoyed exploring their evil deeds with us, and we'd love to hear who your favorite Mega Man enemy is in the comments down below.